Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to my podcast. Let me tell you, I am Miss Deeds and I am your host. I just wanted to quickly show you guys this 4-leaf clover that I found today. Actually found two. And, finding a 4-leaf clover is more than just stumbling across good luck. It's a quiet reminder that magic still exists in the little things. And, if you look hard enough for something, you will find it. It's like the red car theory. So, I am a talker, a natural talker. I always have been. I talk to myself in the car, while I'm cleaning, even sometimes in the shower. So I thought, why not let these conversations live somewhere else other than just inside my own head? And that's how this podcast was born. It's my space to speak freely, to share my stories, and also offer the kind of wisdom that only life can teach you, So, let me first start off that I don't have a PhD or a stack of credentials, although I am studying to get my BA in psychology. But I have earned something different, a PhD in surviving and healing and evolving as a human. I've walked through heartbreak, I've stood in my shadows, I've danced with joy, and I've grown through pain. I lived deeply, I've loved hard, and I've learned lessons that textbooks can never teach you. And now I get to sit here with you and speak it all out loud because these conversations matter, and maybe, just maybe, they will speak to you too. Let me tell you. Today's podcast is personal, raw, honest, and reflective. I actually started off with just a journal prompt, and as I was reflecting on my life and my love life and the past, I was like, I need to make this into a podcast so I can share this with others because it was pretty enlightening when I was doing it myself. So a higher power told me to do so I'm doing it. The question that I'm sitting with is, how have I dimmed myself in love? And what am I reclaiming now? So looking back on my past relationships, a clear pattern emerges. I made myself small so I wouldn't scare him away. And, I quieted my needs to seem easy. This one hits close, because when I look back on my love life, it was just a pattern of shrinking and silencing and self-sacrificing just to feel loved. And now I'm realizing that it's not love at all. I had the wrong perception of it because I was never shown true, healthy love. And that's what happens with us. We become a product of our environment, whether we like it or not. So I swallowed my truth to be more digestible. I wanted to give my all, my heart, my energy, my loyalty. But I always felt like that just made me clingy. And loving deeply was somehow wrong. That's how I feel like in our society, and in reality, I just wanted to express how much someone meant to me. And the way I show that is through little gestures. I adore making little thoughtful gifts, like cutout notes or playlists, things like that. And, that's just how I love. But so many of these men I've been with didn't appreciate those small things. And at the time, I didn't realize it. But now I can see clearly that they were not the right ones for this girl. And here's something else that I realized is that these were never full relationships. They were the almost boyfriends, though we're just talking or this is complicated. They were never the connections that were solidified. They never gave me the safety of clarity. All my other relationships that were solidified, that we were boyfriend and girlfriend, I never had these problems. But when it was the almost, it's like I was chasing them. I was chasing their validation, It's like the more they didn't want me, the more I wanted them. It's crazy. I don't understand this. That's why I love getting into the brain and figuring out how it works because it just fascinates me, I just gave so much to them. I poured real love into these situations that were never meant to be. And that's the part that stings the most, is that how deeply I loved people who never fully claimed me. And I gave, my heart to ambiguity. I tried to bloom in emotional gray areas. And even though that they weren't official relationships, they still left real scars because feelings don't need labels to be valid. You can grieve the emotions just as deeply, and sometimes even more, It's because they come with confusion and what ifs. I kept hoping if I gave more that they'd finally choose me. But what I realized is that I just needed to choose me. I needed to choose myself. That's what I was looking for this whole time. Sometimes these almost relationships hurt the most because they trick you into the idea of holding on to hope. You're chasing something that's hurting you. It's just like a contradiction, It's cognitive dissonance. You are literally running after the thing that's destroying you inside. It's crazy, We're clinging to the idea of what could be instead of we're ignoring the what isn't, right? So you fall in love with potential, with promise, and the fantasy of the connection. But there's no foundation, and there's no clarity and no commitment, right? It's like trying to build a home on quicksand. It's just gonna sink. It's gonna sink real deep. But still, you give and you wait and you ache because even pain feels better sometimes than letting go. And that kind of pain lingers, it latches onto your sense of worth and makes you question what you did wrong, when in reality, they were just never ready to meet you where you were. It's not your problem, They were never prepared to hold the kind of love that you were offering. And, you cannot feel ashamed of that. The right person will accept and treat you with all the love that you deserve. I was giving 100% of my heart to these relationships, while I was only getting 20% back. And I was mistaking that small return for love. I was chasing crumbs, calling it a meal. Now I'm like, not in my damn life. I get that 3-course meal with the dessert, baby. I'm not picking up no more breadcrumbs, okay? I do not deserve that shit, right? But that tiny hit of validation just kept me going. It kept me hoping, because a part of me thought that was all I was worthy of. And it reminds me of the quote in the movie Perks of Being a Wallflower. We accept the love that we think we deserve. That is so true. Psychologically, what I experienced is common for most people with anxious attachment styles. And, anxious attachment often develops in childhood. It's not like we consciously know that we have this attachment style. It's sometimes when emotional needs were just inconsistently met or love felt conditional. And as a result, we tend to overgive and people please and crave reassurance. We read silence as rejection, we overthink texts, and we mirror moods like survival. We believe love is something to earn, when it's not. It's not at all. I became a shapeshifter, I was reading the room, sensing their energy, and figuring out which version of me was safe to show that day. And each time I contorted myself to be more digestible, I lost another piece of the real me. I watered myself down so I wouldn't come off as too emotional or too needy or too much. But now I realize I was not too much. They were just not enough, okay? And that's okay. They were not supposed to be mine. I had to meet the wrong ones to understand what I truly need and want in a relationship. I used to silence myself, not because I lacked passion, but because I was afraid that my fire would scare them off. I kept my feelings tidy and neat so I wouldn't be labeled dramatic. I downplayed my dreams and my opinions and my desires, all to stay in someone's comfort zone, and that wasn't even my comfort zone. So it's just such an awakening moment to realize this. I didn't want to risk being abandoned at the time. But the truth is, I was abandoning myself, okay? And that was the hardest thing for me to come to the realization. I used to wait anxiously for a response. I used to just stare at my phone and just, also purposely wait before texting back just so I wouldn't seem too eager. And I told myself it was smart and strategic, but deep down it came from fear. Fear of being seen as desperate, fear of being unwanted. I began to recognize that my desire to be chosen was stronger than my commitment to choosing myself. I learned to accept almost love, almost connection, almost being seen. But I do not want almost anymore. I want the full thing. I want the real fucking deal. Okay, I deserve that. Now I am reclaiming all of me. I want to say some affirmations with you guys. So if you want, you can repeat them out loud or say them in your head, but I think these are really powerful. So I am reclaiming my voice even when it shakes. I'm reclaiming my emotions, not as burdens, but as brilliance. I'm reclaiming my needs, not with shame, but with pride. I'm reclaiming my presence, not as something to shrink, but something to stand in. You know, I no longer want to fit inside of someone's love. I want to be love, whole, radiant, and real. The next love I accept, I'm manifesting this by the way, will meet me in my fullness. Not just the glow they're comfortable with, but my shadows too. You know, I want them to appreciate all the dark parts of me so they can appreciate the light even more, you know? My softness won't scare them. My standards won't intimidate them. My voice won't silence them. They are gonna hold space for all of me. The messy, the magical, and the multi-dimensional being that I am. And the ones who can't, they're just not my people. And I don't care, okay? They will just fall away like autumn leaves and I will let them. I don't need them in my life, right? But what did these past connections teach me? They show me that I have a heart ready to give, even before someone proves that they can hold it. They show me I need depth, truth, and emotional safety, not just chemistry and charm. You know, they reminded me that I fall fast. I fall freaking fast, okay? And sometimes for potential more than reality. And that's what I need to get into this little noggin of mine. That I still carry wounds around being left and unseen or chosen last. And I'm still working on that, you know? I'm healing that now. I've learned that no one else can complete me. That validation from someone else is not a substitute for self-worth. That what I'm really craving in those relationships, attention, affirmation, closeness, is something I can just give to myself. Like, I don't realize this. We are chasing these things, affirmations, affection, all these things, love, when we can just give it to ourselves. We are destroying ourselves inside, craving and chasing these things, when we can just give it to ourselves freely. And then we will feel more whole. You know, when I wait for someone to say the right thing to feel whole, I hand them the keys to my self-esteem. And if they walk away, I feel empty. So you cannot rely on anybody else for your happiness, okay? You can't trust anybody else with that. You have to accept that you are in control of your own happiness, and you always will be. You know, here's the truth, is that I was always the one creating that feeling. The feeling of being hurt, abandoned, neglected. I was just projecting it onto them. You know, I carry all of the love that I seek within me. And anybody else who comes into my life is just adding to that. They're not completing it. From now on, I will not wait for love to feel full. I will live full, and I will love full. I'll be the one I used to hope someone else would be for me. And the next love that I accept, it's gonna be calm but electric. It's gonna be grounded and passionate, safe but never dull. They won't flinch at my truth. They will lean in. They won't fear the weight of my heart. They will rise to meet it. They'll see me in my complexity and say, yes, still you and always you. Because I'm not too much. I am everything. And the right one won't want me any other way. And I hope all of you guys realize this as well. So I just want to say thank you for being here with me today. If something I said hit home, made you think, or just made you feel less alone, then that's the whole reason I'm doing this. Healing is not linear, and no one gets through it alone. Some days are gonna be worse than others, you know, like today you could be feeling amazing on your healing journey, but tomorrow you could feel like shit, and that's okay. You just gotta roll with the waves, you know? And no one gets through this alone. You gotta have a support system. And if you don't have a support system, I'm here for you. So until next time, take care of your heart, speak kindly to your mind, and remember, you're not broken, you're becoming. So this is Miss Deeds, and I will talk to you soon on Let Me Tell You. Have a great night, beautiful people. Mwah.